Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode. Are you a magician? It doesn't matter because you're all very welcome. This is part 2 of my amazing conversation with Bill Abbott and Bill Abbott Magic, and about really kind of how to create a venue of your own, because we just can't rely on people coming in with private gigs anymore. You know, there's fewer and fewer places that hire magicians. The cabaret scene in America specifically is pretty dead. I know it's not in Europe, but it is in America. And so you need to you just kind of do your own thing. And the popularity of these magic venues, these mini close-up magic theaters around the world has shown that it's a very viable proposition. So let's get back to Bill Abbott and this conversation regarding his place in Florida, and take notes and see if you can apply any of these ideas to what you're doing. You know, and also, even if you're not a magician, there are business concepts and business ideas here that I think you'll find incredibly valuable. So without any further ado, here we go with Bill Abbott.
I do a vanishing bottle right off the top. It's something I might actually put together as a download, but it's my champagne opener. So I come out and I say, I don't know if you know this, but we give away a free bottle of champagne at every show here at the Magic Hideaway. And tonight's no exception. You could have a chance to win the champagne. This is the way it works, though. It's a bit of a game, and you have to win the game. I'm going to think of a wild animal. On the count of 3, you're going to yell out the wild animal you think I'm thinking of. Whoever gets it right on the money gets the bottle of bubbly. We have a to-go bag because it's Florida. Pop it open, thing of it. So then everyone on the count of 3 calls it their thing, and then I crumple up the bag and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. But next time, maybe you come next week."
That's the first time that trick's ever been motivated. That's fantastic.
Well, yeah. It's motivated partly because you come as a couple, you're paying almost $300, to come. The idea of giving away a bottle of champagne. Well, of course you're giving away a bottle of champagne. And people are actually very excited. So when it disappears, there's a lot of unhappy alcoholics in the audience. And I always say that. And the only people.
It also establishes your kind of rascally personality. You know what I mean? And I think that's
for sure. And right off the top, they're getting something, that they're not expecting. And I think that's the whole, magic is best when it's a surprise, as we know. So most of the magic in that is surprise. But anyway, so then I kind of go into my origin story. I do the 5-card box, which you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Talking about
available at Bill Abbott Magic.
Yeah. And then I also extend that a little bit. I talk about when I did birthday parties when I was a kid, and tricks I used to do in the schoolyard to fool my friends. And then fast forward to when I was in college, and I used to do nightclubs and bars and work for tips to pay my tuition. And I showed the most popular trick at that time was the invisible roll your own herbal cigarette. And then, I do kind of a smoke from glass. And anyways, so there's all this, it's sort of a storyline thing. And then I go straight into mind reading. I go straight into like mentalism. So I do kind of
And is the majority of your show mentalism with the group?
I would say it's about 40%, maybe. Yeah, about 40% for sure. I think you can run them, but all of the mentalism effects, or all the mental mind reading effects, there's always a visual component. It's never your grandmother's bra size is whatever. There's always, I'm going to produce grandma.
And I have her bra right here. That's the visual component.
It looks familiar.
It's a very visual component. It's a hammock. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still a magician. Right. And I tell the audience, I am not psychic. I'm not going to talk to your dead relatives. I'm not going to give you the Florida lottery numbers, but I like to use paraphernalia, and I do like a tea leaf reading trick. And I do everything has got a tongue in cheek thing. I mean, people still, when you tell them their dead relative or whatever, they might burst into tears, but that's not my fault. I kind of try to keep it light and fun.
I learned this lesson when I was touring with the Illusionists. We had a mentalist join the tour, Peter Antonio. Wonderful. Very funny. Everything he does is worked out. Like his original patter, his presentation, he's got a lovely rapport with the audience, very physical in what he does. I'm carrying 2 suitcases of props. Peter does a 4 envelope psychometry in the first half of the show, 10 minutes. Second half of the show, he does a 3 envelope test. His show is in his pocket when he's traveling, right? biggest thing he carries is his jacket. I would meet friends after the show, having done all of this magic, and they've seen all of this show, and every single time they'd be like, can I meet the mentalist? You know, is he, it's not real, is it? I mean, how much of that is real and how much of that is trickery? Like they're trying to, like, there's a combination of something, you know, and you realize the power of mentalism. And I was doing an interview the other day with a friend of mine, and I said to them, I said, you got to understand, I said, it's where the emotion lies is in the mentalism, and magic doesn't have an emotion unless you're telling a story about a dead relative. It really doesn't have much emotion. Soon as the difference, you choosing a card, you choosing someone from your family, pretty much the same method initially could be, but the impact. So I remember there's a cult leader who would put a seed on his hand, and would close his hand, and for 20 minutes, his followers would pray around his hand, and he would be like, and when he opened his hand, that seed had sprouted a leaf, like he'd created life through the power of his, you know, and it's the same, it's the same trick, right? You know, you take a coin, you change it to another coin. It's exactly the same trick. But now you've got a cult, and you've got people who believe that you can create life. And this is the thing with mentalism. And I have been, we'll talk off camera because I've been working on a lot of it, actually, because I do like it. And I have had people burst into tears, but most of the time it's cathartic, you know?
Yes. And so let me tell you very quickly. So I would do the CT. So I would get someone to, I'll just give you kind of my script. I start with, I'd like to get weird with someone here tonight. Not the kind of weird you're thinking, Steve, but I want to get personal with someone. I want to, for example, you, ma'am, I usually find someone at the back of the room, someone who's far away from me, because I want to make it with that poor person who's like, isn't as connected because they're not as close to the magic. To think of someone close to your heart in some way, somebody who I couldn't know. We're not Facebook friends, nothing like that. I want you to think of someone you have an emotional connection to. So take this piece of paper. This is going to be the only evidence of the person you're thinking of. Just print their name on here, blah, blah, blah. So then we have a witness, we rip it up, we get rid of it. And then I will then gradually reveal the person. I was doing that, and just with that wording, for whatever reason, show after show after show, people were writing down relatives who had passed on, their brother who had died last year, someone had a car accident a month ago. They were almost, I would say, to 90% were people writing down dead people, dead names, I guess.
Without you asking specifically.
Without me asking, I felt very uncomfortable with it. I didn't. Yeah. And then I started prefacing by saying, think of someone who's still with us. And then Rebecca took me aside after a show, and she said, you know, you got to just let people do what they're going to do. Because it's not for you, it's for them. And if I know you're uncomfortable because you don't want to have a negative feeling during the show. You don't have people, but she said for women, it's very, this is her words, it's very cathartic, and it's a release of emotion. Yeah. With this person in this kind of a venue. And it's something that I never considered. I always thought, you know, we always talk about the living and dead test, the worst thing on earth. Why would anyone ever do that? But I realized from doing from doing it over and over, I just realized, you know what? It brings a whole dynamic to the show that I never, first of all, considered, but also didn't realize was as powerful and can be a beautiful thing. And it's not, you know, that's how
I think the difference is that you're not asking for it. A dead person. Yeah. And for those who don't know what a living and dead test is, let me explain the premise, because it's the most bizarre. I give 7 people in the audience a piece of paper, and I have them write down the name of someone living that they know, someone, or maybe a celebrity, but mostly, and then I give a piece of paper to some other unsuspecting person, and I say, write down someone you know who's dead. Write down that person. Now, those papers are all mixed together, and then as I reach in and pull them out of a bag or whatever, I'm like, no, this is a living person. This is living. This is dead. This is dead. I feel this is the dead person. Sir, would you open that up? And is that the dead person? Yes. And is the person's name Barbara? Amazing. You know, I mean, it is the most bizarre plot. I love the fact that you're not asking for it, but you're getting anyway. Now, does that tempt you sometimes to kind of go, this person's still with us?
Yeah. So I cold read. That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I'm doing, if I get a vibe where it's like, I could tell it's shit. Sorry. I'll get a vibe. And I'll kind of know, or I'll have a thing. Yeah. And sometimes the name will give it away. If it's Mabel or Myrtle or,
Yeah. Right.
Joffrey.
If they're a little emotional while they're writing it down.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with the CT once. I remember having this lady, she wrote down the name, and the person this is, I think, why I said Barbara. And it was one of those days when, and I'm sure you've done this, where you just start saying stuff and everything hits and you don't know why, you know? And the more there was a, I forget who it was, but there was someone who said that when you're trying to read someone's mind in a magic show, act like you're really trying to read their mind. Listen to what your subconscious says, because it's picking up all kinds of clues, you know? And now and again, when that happens, you have hits, right? Like I said to this lady, to this girl, I was like, she's no longer with us, right? And she was like, no. And I said, does she have red hair? I don't know why I said that. She was like, yes. And I was like, Manish, this girl was fairly young. So I said, did she die kind of young? And she goes, yes, it was in a bike accident. But holy crap, that was powerful.
Yeah. And that's, we get that frequently. And I it's something that I've embraced, and I've actually, I don't hope for it, because I don't, you know, it doesn't matter to me, because if someone could think of their granddaughter or
I mean, good for Rebecca for saying that. I also think because of COVID, unfortunately, a lot of people have experienced.
This is why, and I think the living and dead test, when you think of when the popularity of that was during war times, or it was post-war. It's when that
flu epidemic, 1918 flu epidemic, millions of people. Yeah.
The 1900s, that was a crazy time where death was a very real thing. And it's something that's, very, like you said, cathartic, and something that, I mean, they're not going to think of somebody like that unless they're fully prepared to really focus on that person.
Yeah. It's also a nice, but just on a purely mercenary level, when it comes to the show, this is what I was talking about, was how do you make what you did earlier different to what you're doing now? That is a gear change, right? That's a needle scratching on the record that says, hold on a minute, we're going in a different direction now. I love that.
Yeah. And then I do, everything is like, I think the one card effect I do is a card and light bulb that is kind of proprietary. I haven't really shared it with anyone, but it's something that I want to do, something specific for the Magic Hideaway that people wouldn't see anywhere else. And that was, I preface it by doing that. So I do a card and light bulb that's very strong. And then they keep the light bulb with the card in it, the person I do it with. Nice. So it's very, very far and beyond what anything that they've seen beforehand. So it's not like they're like, and I do my Bill and Line trick. I do the thing routine. I do, this stuff that's I'm known for, obviously. And like everyone else for the past 20 years, I went on prediction routine, but it's from the envelope that everyone signed, And
so you got like this whole kind of continuity now with this envelope there. And this is the one a version of the one that you sell, right? This is the latest thing that you came out with.
Yeah. It's a version thereof. And it's, I've tweaked it quite a bit. It's quite a bit different, but it's along the same lines. And it's very, again, it's like, it can hit very hard, but I also realize that predictions are hard to pull off at the end of a show, and they're not great because you leave people scratching their heads a little bit. And that's not what you want. An emotional response at the end of the show where people are clapping. And I mean, I never work up a standing ovation. I never try to, but if you want them to do that, a prediction ending is actually not great, because they're like, how did he know? They're too busy then talking amongst themselves. They're not in the emotion of, the music's rising and somehow the thread's back together and you're back up and they're up on their feet.
That's really smart. Do you know the story about Paul Daniels with the electric chair?
No.
About what happened with him?
I know the electric chair, but I don't know.
So for those who don't know, Paul Daniels, great magician in England, changed the face of comedy magic for many, many years. And when he was performing live, right, the electric chair where two people come up on stage, it can be anybody, it's not set up beforehand. They sit in these two chairs. He's trying to do a trick and they keep getting shocked with these electric chairs. And then he swaps the chairs. And when Paul did it, was hilarious. It's on the internet. You can look it up on YouTube. Right. And Paul was in the early part of his career. He had an opportunity to open for a comedian called Michael Benteen, who was one of the Goons. So which were a British comedy group. What was his name? The Goons. It'll come to me. All those guys. They were fantastic. I grew up watching them. Anyway, so Michael Benteen wants a really good opening act. Goes to Jersey to see the Isle of Jersey, not Jersey. Goes to Jersey to see Paul do his show. Paul gets out there. He's giving it everything. He kills with electric chair. Benteen meets him in the dressing room afterwards and says, I'd love you to open for me, but you can't do the electric chair. And then Paul's like, but it's my best piece. Why can't I? And he says, because it's not that it's so strong and powerful, it's hard to follow, which I think partly that may have been. He said, it's because it's the kind of trick that people want to talk about afterwards. He said, I was watching the crowd, and when you left, everyone was talking about how they thought it was done.
Breaking into conversation.
Yeah. And he goes, and that, I can't have that. He's like, I need people to be focused on me when I come out. Which is very smart of Ben Teen. Yeah. So do you have a beat after your predictions that kind of closes it out for everybody?
I'm going to reveal it. But I do have a beat because I feel like, and I'm still tweaking it. Like, this is the beauty of having a weekly thing, is that I always get to tweak it more and more. And like, I've edited what I try to do now is I'll watch video, because I tape every show, and I video every show, and I listen to everything, and I realize I'm like most magic acts. I'm talking too much. There's too much talking. Well, how do we squeeze more magic into this? Because I want to, I take that 50 minutes and squeeze more magic and take out more talking. I want to put more magic in. So that's my goal now, from now until I'm dead, is to maximize as much magic and pack as much magic into it. And I don't mean like a crazy, like the Banana Man, where you're just walking out, but I mean something where you're like, how many more magical moments can we create? Sure. You know, with even just with one routine, you can create more magic moments. Yeah. As many as possible. And I used to be of the mindset, this is like probably early 2000s. I can take, with my toss deck routine, I can make a 12-minute routine of this toss deck routine. That's great. Now that toss deck routine for me is a minute and 54 seconds, because I want more magic. I want to put more magic into it. I do have the luxury of being able to have a space where I can do that, and play and have a little sandbox to play in. And there's something about that. I've always been that way. Anyone who's seen my show will testify that I like to go out and beat people up with magic. I like to get them to the point where they give up trying to figure out how it's done, and they just kind of become kids again and enjoy the ride. That's more interesting to me, to kind of get people past that cynical stage. And I had a thing recently when I was working in Bill Cook. Do you know Bill? Oh yeah. Yeah. So Bill was opening for me. I'm doing an hour and Bill's doing 15. And Bill says, send me a list of what you're doing, just so we don't have any duplication, right? So I wrote out this list and I sent it to him, and I didn't hear back for a while. He was like, yeah, I was just trying to figure out what was left for me to do, It's when someone says I do an hour with 4 tricks, I'm like, well, I'm good for you, but I mean, it's good. It's good when you're traveling. I think when you're traveling, it's tough to sometimes, like when I was flying overseas and doing stuff like that, where you're living out of a carry-on. So like that, you're limited. And I don't mind stuff out of my pocket, but it's got to flow and it's got to move. Music is such a beautiful thing to like transitions, to move between the effects, to create momentum. Having background music, I love to have background music with either a mood that's created or rhythm that keeps me motivated while I'm performing. It keeps like even if you have a soundtrack for the show. Yeah. What's your go-to system for magic, or for the music? So it's funny. I've gone back to, when I first started doing music, was back in the early 2000s. I used to use just a Bluetooth remote and a laptop, this is actually pre iPhones, I think. Yeah. So like a Bluetooth remote and a laptop, like you were doing a PowerPoint presentation. You plug the speakers into the. I have since had used all of them, and now I'm back to using a Bluetooth remote and an iPad that sits on the wall, because it's a small room. I don't need to have. It doesn't. So just working off of iTunes, a playlist on iTunes. Then is that what you're doing? Go button. Right. Go button. Okay. But I'm just using a $40 Bluetooth thing. Believe me, I've spent all the money on all the other systems. I'm with you. For those who don't know what we're talking about, when a magician does a show, often there's audio and visual cues. Now you can have someone with you who knows your show backwards, but usually it's better that you trigger it yourself, because you never know what's going to happen on stage. So I used to have a thing in one of my trouser pockets, and it looked like I was forever pushing my thigh. I'm just like, what's wrong with him? I think he's trying to grab himself. I don't know what's going on. And then, and over the years, there's been lots of different versions of it, right? And I had one that was, I had to have it on a big laptop, and it didn't always work. And then there's always these problems with a lot of these programs where they skip, or they jam, or the music starts without you. I mean, it's been one of the biggest, because I use audio and visual in my show, so I have a lot of media. It's the next level. It's like, audio's great. There's a lot of options just for audio. Go button. I know a lot of people use, is it Media Monkey, I think, or
Audio Ape. I know there's a monkey in there somewhere. And right now I'm using IQ Pro Show Control, and they don't sponsor me or anything, but I think they're really getting to a place where it's great. And that's a Bluetooth button too. That's the flick buttons that you can buy. Is that what you're using?
I'm not using that. I'm using an old school one that I have strapped to my ass pocket. It's just literally, well, the nice thing is that they're $40 on Amazon. I bought 5 of them. I have them ready to go. I have a backup. The nice thing is, or whoever's hosting, the iPad's on the wall at the back where she is. Yeah. If worse comes to worse and like remotes stop working and the whole place dies, she can run it from over there.
That's great. I take great pleasure and pride in people not seeing me press the button now. I have a couple on my waistband, and one in my pocket, and I have one at a table when I go to pick up a prop. Right. So, there's something kind of, if it's on my waist, so it's a very kind of natural, hand is here, and it's just, thing with the flick button, they tend to go click when you hit them, but if you're loud like me, you can cover it. Yes. That's great. All right. So what's the experience after people have seen your show? What do you do with them? You don't just kick them out on the street, right?
Not yet. What I like to do, I do a little bit of a front of curtain speech before the last effect. And I talk about, if you're like me, and I know I am, I love magic. And if you think about a party you might want to have and inviting a magician, I'm the magician to invite. If you have a corporate event so I do a little bit of a speech spiel for that. And I'm not too heavy-handed, but enough. Yeah. We get a ton of private work out of it because of that. But
I mean, people sometimes don't even think about that at the time, do they? You have to tell them.
No, but I really do it all. Everything's lighthearted. I never heavy-hand anything. I don't start crying and begging for standing ovations. You
guys have been the greatest audience. Yeah.
And then so then that moves to the last effect, and then and then I say, you guys have been so great. I want to give you a picture of me, and then I have these little pictures of it's the Magic Hideaway sort of frame and logo, and it's a picture of me. Obviously, I say now you can do whatever you want with these pictures. This gentleman's going to put it in his gym locker. This guy's going to tape it to his ceiling. You can do whatever you want. Then they say on the back, there's a room for there's a little thank you note for me. There's some links to Google TripAdvisor. If you have a minute to leave a review, that really means the world to us.
It's in a frame. You've actually put it in a frame.
Oh, it looks like a frame. I don't think I have one here to show you, but anyways, no. It's just a really nice card. It's got gold, foil.
Gotcha.
Fancy.
Yeah.
And so that really emphasizes, obviously, getting the reviews. And so as I said, Rebecca will have these at the end. And if you get your phones out, we'll make everyone in the lounge jealous because we'll take pictures and they'll wonder who we are. So then I do the final effect, whatever. Thank you, Lana. Then I say, I'll meet you outside. So then everyone files out, and there's the full step and repeat photo wall right there. Rebecca just is ready to grab their phone, take the photo.
Smart.
With all the people. So we get everyone's photo, which we also use. So we're also taking pictures with our camera, which we then put into a montage at the end of the evening and post on social media. And then I give away long stem roses to the ladies or whoever wants to be a lady. I give them long stem roses, and then everyone vanishes into the night. That's pretty much it.
So it's a beautiful evening. I think what I love that you're doing, and it's interesting because I just heard an incredible interview with Mr. Beast on Diary of a CEO. And when you listen to the interview, you realize how much he cares, how much he puts into everything that he does, and how he's willing to lose money in order to go for the gold, right? Of course, with him, it's millions per video, but I love that you're willing to put money into the experience for people. You're not just taking the money, doing a show and saying, get out. You give them a drink when they arrive. There's the extra magic beforehand, giving them the experience when they come into the room. And then at the end, giving them one more thing, which is like a genius marketing ploy. Like, this is like, review us. You had a great time. Let everyone know. And also let your friends know and book me for your shows. And all of these things that I think a lot of people don't think about. I think the show's over. They're going to think about hiring me. But no, you got to tell them. You're dead right. It's like doing a street show, right? You tell people that to put money in the hat. You have to do that speech. And then there's I think the wind down is really important. I think after you've built people up in a show like that, they have questions. They want to ask you questions. They don't want to be rushed out of a building, Yeah. And doing that with the step and repeat, great idea. so that people.
I mean, it's not new with me, but I do feel like something that
we did it on my show as well. We did it on Life and Other Deceptions. I'm just saying that it's especially now in this social media environment, people want to have content, right? Yep. Whenever they go out. So you've just given them something special.
In our average, I would say our average age range is 35 to 65. That's kind of like, so it's not even people that are super, I mean, there are social influencers who come to the show and hype us up, and we love that. Most of the people, like, they might have a Facebook account, but most of them are older. They're not, you know, they also get live entertainment. They're paying for it, obviously. So it's like, as opposed to like, you know, like a lot of younger people, you got to kind of wake them up. It's like, this is not YouTube. I'm actually here. You can
put your phones down. Yeah. And what's the, how many seats are in your theater?
23.
Super intimate. That's lovely. And do you mind, what's the ticket price per person?
25.
Sorry?
125 per person.
125. So yeah. And you're putting money back in. I assume every venue has its own business model, whether the venue takes a percentage, whether you rent the room and do whatever you want, or whether they just get the drinks. What have you found has worked the best with the places that you've been?
My approach, and this I started a long time ago when I started doing restaurants. My approach was, this is how I'm going to make you money. I never came up with, wouldn't it be great to have a magic show? Because it wouldn't, right. They don't care. And even in the owner of this is the beauty of the partnership I have with Richard Kessler, is that he's an art collector. He has one of the largest collections of Bösendorf pianos in the world. Every one of his hotels has 2 and 3 and 4 Bösendorfer pianos that are massive. His pianists all the time. He appreciates fine things. He loves, you know, performance. He loves me. He loves magic. So I'm already on board. It was just a great partnership. Now you can walk into a Denny's and try to talk to the manager there and do card tricks at the tables. Are you going to be appreciated? Is what you're offering going to be appreciated? That's really the struggle I had in Canada, was that it just did not. It's not that they didn't. There was like, magic was a pigeonholed thing. It was like, well,
birthday parties,
you know, and you can kill. I mean, there's people in Toronto that kill with birthday parties, and like. But when I got tired of that and I had kids of my own and I didn't want to see any of other people's kids and do magic shows for them anymore, I realized that that wasn't a lot for me. And I guess, so getting back to your point, finding someone or an organization or a thing that appreciates what you do, because we're going to be dead. The money was what you made or what you did. It's like how you made people feel. It's what I really, truly, I feel like been gifted with. This is what I'm giving back. I'm using what I have. And to find the place where do I want to work? What if it costs me money to work here? What if I have to pay to work in my favorite venue of all time? But if you were to create your own venue from scratch, what would that look like? And what is it worth to you? For me, it was worth changing countries and moving my whole family to a whole different city in Florida to open this venue. That's how much it meant to me. And it wasn't, if you crunch the numbers, I'm probably still losing, but that's not the point. The point is I'm in my perfect venue that I love to share magic with. I mean,
so it's quality of life, number one, right? It's quality of life. Yeah. And I think we have to more so now than ever before. I think that's something that the pandemic actually brought home for a lot of people was, you know, if this is the end of the world, how's your life been up to now? And, you know, you've got an opportunity to look back and go, this is not where I ever wanted to be. Yeah, I truly respect what you've done there with the venue. And I know a lot of people who are trying to do similar things around the world, you know, and in Germany, there's many magic theaters. Some have crazy entrances. Some keep people there until after the show. You know, they go to another place within the building where there's more experiences of what you're doing. I love what you're doing. It's super. I can't wait to come down and visit and come see the show.
Love to have you. And one thing that I remember, Jack, speaking of the castle, Jack Goldfinger, and I think he tells this to everybody, but
and Jack is the guy who books the castle. He's the entertainment director who books all the acts.
Something that he said that I constantly repeat to myself and anybody who will listen is he's like, it's not called the Comedy Castle. It's not called the lighting castle. It's not the fireworks castle. It's the Magic Castle. So when we did our original Magic Hideaway concept, it was like more of a speakeasy, more of a, hey, you're going into this cigar, factory, and we outfitted a whole room to feel like we were in a cigar factory. And then all this wall of cigars opened up and went into the champagne room. It was a very theatrical Disney-esque style experience. And when I went back to, because we couldn't do that because of the pandemic, and when I went back to what I actually wanted to do, I just wanted to perform. And I realized after doing what we're doing here and packing as much magic as possible in, magic I already knew or magic that I learned, was that magic is enough. You do not need to have it in this crazy speakeasy. Are those things great? Those value additions, those production value things, they're great. But 90%, 99% of people have never seen a magician live.
Isn't that amazing? I know I ask people in every show, how many magic virgins do we have? And it's shocking.
It's the audience, right?
Yeah, it is. And then you're like, kind of like, well, sucks to be you. I'm your first.
Well, and even a place like LA, right? Where you assume they've been to a party and they've seen a magician, but they haven't.
No, they haven't. It's an amazing thing. I think quality of life, dude, I think that how, makes you happy, right? And you're right. The magic is enough. But I think it's because you and I have both grown up in an era, like magic is super cool now. Like it's got its golden parlor close up. I think it's in its golden era in the way that in the early 1900s was the illusionists era. Yeah. I think that the close up magic and the people really appreciate it. Pete Holmes does that great comedy bit on how people don't know how to respond to magic. It's like, right. Yay, good for you. I don't, it's a great bit. But I think that people know how to respond now. They have a set of rules. And so they're free to respond. They're free to say like, I don't understand, man. They're free. And all those frustrations come out into reactions. But I think we're living in a really good place. And because of that, the magic is enough. When I was started in the business, you had to do so much to get an audience's attention, to hold their attention. There was no room for subtlety. There was no room for stories about where you came from or your childhood, like my show, or like your show. I hear young performers complaining that somebody said something rude in the middle of their show. And I'm like, go do the working men's clubs in England and where they throw fruit because they don't like how you walk right onto the stage. Like, you as an entertainer have to be able to, I hate it, but you have to be able to kind of weather these storms and be a professional. Now, like, people are coming to see you. They've paid money to come and see you. Crazy. That's a whole wall that's gone already, It's funny you talked about Paul Rossini because from what I was reading, he would do the cabaret, but he would do close up after the cabaret. His attitude being by request and usually for a large tip. And his whole mental approach was at that point, he is the celebrity.
That's right.
Right. Because he's been on stage. Whereas if you're a complete stranger in a nightclub environment and you're walking up to tables and nobody knows who you are. But back in that time, that was the step and repeat, the photo opportunity. That was what he did and made all of his money.
Yeah. And get all the free drinks
and destroy his liver. How many magicians, man? How many magicians?
But it's like how many close-up magicians? Because that's all anybody wants to do is buy you a drink.
I remember when I was at the castle in the early 90s, how many performers would sit at that table in the close-up room with a glass of whiskey and do card tricks. And this was it was the normal way,
Yeah. Amazing.
It's changed a lot. All the stories from the castle are like, this guy was hammered and...
I can't even look at a glass of whiskey within 24 hours of me performing. I can't do it. I'm like, I'm sober I'm sober as can be, especially before shows. I can't, even just the smell of something will throw me off. My brain will,
Yeah. I can't eat before a show because I will always get a stomach cramp. Or need to go to the bathroom right before the show starts, eh?
You're farting through the show. You're digesting in front of the audience.
We've done that. I have a friend of mine who as well, who got diarrhea and like shit his pants in the middle of a show. And what we thought was going to be a quick fart, it was not a quick fart. Well, it turned out to be. Okay. I think you should keep it in the act. I think it could be, you should get out of jail. I really need to leave, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's a use for it. I have a whole thing in the show now where I talk about being on stage past 50 years old, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how has he been on stage so long without going to the bathroom? Well,
that's great.
And then I have a whole routine where I show how I go to the bathroom during a trick. It's completely inappropriate. It's gross. Most people look at me like they don't really understand what I'm doing. My favorite line in it is I go, you can always tell when a magician's going to the bathroom during a show because he's doing a rope trick. That's the moment. Something about the wicking tendencies. I really appreciate you talking us through that. I hope it helps other magicians and other places kind of find their own venues and bring respect to their magic and in their town, there's definitely a place for it. People love it. And if we ever get something going in Toronto, I'll let you know. It's not going to happen. I don't know. I have an idea, but
it's hard. It's a hard place to do it.
Yeah, you're in Florida in the sun. What's the temperature right now where you are?
It's pretty chilly today. Let me see here.
I don't want to hear it. What's pretty chilly to you?
65. It's actually not bad.
Oh, it's minus 11 here. 3 feet. Yeah, you go ahead and laugh. 3 feet of snow. 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And it's they do that thing where they go, it's minus 11, but it feels like minus 20 because of the wind. And I'm like, then it's minus fucking 20, isn't it? What's this? It's minus 11, but it feels like, no, it's minus fucking 20. My kids are like, can we please move back to LA? Every week. They're like, can we, Dad? Can you get a job back? Anyway, this has been amazing. And thank you for really kind of opening up and being so honest. And all right, final thing. What was the trick that Mystery used the most to leave with, or was there one that you noticed that he did the most to leave with the hottest girl at the party?
He would always he always had 2 or 3. Can I reveal secrets right now?
Talk about it, and I'll bleep it out if it's too much.
So he had ITRs
right
throughout his jacket, and his 2 things he would do. One thing he would do is girls would always be holding a drink with a straw. So one thing he would do is he had this weird way of hooking it up where he would kind of do this wave. But anyways, he would basically loop around the straw while they're holding their drink. And then he would just do this thing where it would go like this, and like it would just flip out. And that was his main, I think that was his go-to, that was definitely his ice-breaking moment where he would just be like, check out this straw, just focus on it. Boom. It would fly out of the thing. And obviously everyone's, who the fuck is this guy? You know? But he was doing stuff with work that very groundbreaking at the time. I felt like he could have shared that and made a living selling that shit too. But he was very good at that. He just was, I don't know if you remember the floating dove. You would take a dove and flip it upside down.
Yeah, I'm sure, like an Azra kind of a thing. Yes. This is magician's code.
Pay no attention to this. Anyway, but he set up something similar, but he would borrow a beer bottle and then float it between his, his crotch level.
Amazing. Yeah.
That looked fantastic. He did a lot of stuff with fire. He had a lot of, back before they had any electronic stuff, he was using like, I don't know, saltpeter or something, but he was like putting matches in ashtrays and then making them burst into flames with his mind.
That's cool.
Crazy shit. He did a beautiful, his vanishing cigarette. So this is back when everyone was smoking still. He was smoking cigarettes, and he would switch out a real cigarette for a puff cigarette.
Right.
But you never knew the moment. I never knew. And he had the puff cigarette on a pull sleeve. So he would suddenly be smoking a cigarette and go like this and go like this, and the cigarette be gone and be like, it looked lit, like just brilliant shit. And he was, definitely before his time. And even the methods he was using then, I've never seen anybody do half the stuff he did. Even now, I've never seen anybody do them.
He could write a magic book, really. I mean, maybe he should. You know, maybe he should. Do you ever see him? Have you ever heard from him again?
I connected with him a couple of years ago. I just reached out to his assistant because obviously he's primarily just doing these retreats where he brings all these incels out to try to meet women. And it's whatever.
Well, if you get a chance to talk to him, tell him I'd love to interview him on his magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because his approach, yes, he's using it to meet women and break the ice, but we're all using magic to break the ice and entertain people.
Absolutely.
And to connect with people, whether you're leaving with them or not. And I think a lot of magicians, and I think you might agree with me, that's the one thing they're missing is connecting with their audience.
Yes.
And he is the ultimate connector. He has shown his skill set. So I'd love to talk to him about that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. I think I've got his number, but I'll reach out to him and see, because I know that he was very cagey when I talked to him about it. It's probably 3-4 years ago, and he was very cagey about sharing anything with magicians at that time, because I said, you've got such innovative methods and ways of doing what you do that I've never seen anyone else do. I know that people would be interested. It would be remiss if I didn't get you to at least try to put something out there, something into the interwebs or something like.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't, I don't think he sees the value in doing that. I think his value is that nobody else is doing what he's doing, and when he goes into a nightclub, he's the man. He can command, which
I see that side of it. I understand. Maybe we're giving away too much in magic these days. There was a time when you had to be a student of somebody in order to learn the secrets, and you had to earn them.
Yeah.
Now it's all available. So I get it. Yeah. And I'm sure he doesn't want to get like some TikTok video exposing all of the tricks, but right. Connecting with people using magic, I think is an interesting thing. Maybe we should just revisit that chapter in the book.
Yeah. Yes. I think so too.
It's the pickup artist, right? The game.
The game. Yeah.
The game. Was it Neil Strauss who wrote that? Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. What a journey we've had today.
Crazy.
What a journey. All right. Thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for this. This podcast is fantastic. I've enjoyed every episode I've listened to so far. So thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Bill. You're the man. Wasn't he great? You see what I mean about that? There was so much gold, so much juicy information in there. I can't believe he really spilled the beans. So I hope that was super valuable for you and helps you as you move forward in this magical world. Remember that Magicians Only is sponsored by Magic on the Go. It's on your phone. It's in your pocket. If you want to learn a magic trick, you just put into the search bar in the browse, you put in the search bar like the name of the trick or the product or whatever it is. You pull up a whole bunch of tricks, eggs, pull up egg bags, put in cards, put in glasses, and you can learn all kinds of magic. You can create all kinds of acts from close up to stand up to parlor. You can learn how to apply your magic to a stand-up speaking environment. It's all there and it's just for you. We're almost at 1,000 videos. There's so much content. And the thing is, you can do what some of my members do, which is they'll actually just put it on while they're jogging, or they'll put it on in the car, so they'll just listen to it, or they'll put it on the treadmill so that they can actually watch videos while they're actually walking. And they get inspired all the time. I get amazing messages from people. So that's Magic on the Go. Please check it out. It is my passion. It is my passion project, and I guarantee once you start looking at the content and learning the magic, it's going to be yours. All right. I'll see you next week on the inside.